Hello everybody and welcome to my video review of the Curse of Strahd. I'm holding the fucking player's handbook, guys. I'm holding the fucking player. Hello everybody and welcome to my video review of the Curse of Strahd book here. I have in my hands a hard copy of Strahd. And I figured after about 7 sessions of us playing it, of us prepping it for you guys in stream, we should actually get a review on the website and the channel, because I have a lot of thoughts about the campaign and about the book in general, and I'd like to share them with you guys because, well, it's what I do. So let's get into it. The Curse of Strahd came out about a few months ago, and it's Wizards of the Coast's second line of book material, of modular material, which they have released post-launch of 5th edition. Previously, we had we had the Unearthed Arcana stuff going on, and then we had the Horde of Dragon Queen storyline, and that those series of books. So Strahd was the next line, and honestly, they had a fairly easy line to follow, and it was because they had this awful book released before, the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, which no one needs. They had an easy act to follow, and they went a bit too easy in my opinion. On the module as a whole, I'm disappointed with Wizards of the Coast that they did not do something more exciting and something new. They have rehashed their material, and they've continued to do so throughout 5th edition, and that's something which I do not appreciate, and I wish that they had out some new original stuff. Only the other week they just released the Magic the Gathering for D&D setting, and again, it's just the same stuff. They have their own material previously written from other editions, and I'm just excited to see anything new, basically. Ravenloft is such a great setting and such a great world that they know it's going to do well. They just absolutely know that it's going to sell. Everyone hears Ravenloft, they go off their tits. Is this anything like new, special, ridiculously crazy in comparison to the original Ravenloft and then Return to Ravenloft? Honestly, my overall opinion is that it's not nothing particularly new and fancy. But if you have never played Ravenloft before, as I know a huge amount of players are just getting into 5th edition now, and there's a huge upsurgence, then it's good. And overall, I am very pleased with the Curse of Strahd as a modular book on its own, in comparison to, say, Out of the Abyss before. Out of the Abyss was a good book, but this, Curse of Strahd, is better. So, in that terms, I am happy with Wizards that they have done that. So let's just actually, I'll show you guys just some rifling through the book. I mean, most of you guys have seen this at this point, but one of the things which I like about the book in general, as a DM, is to have these wonderful maps which they have at the back of this book, and you can just rip them out and use them, and actually have these really nice hand-drawn maps for you, which are super nice. You can just grab them, take them out and use them, or you could scan them and use them in your games, and that's something I really appreciated. They didn't have that in Out of the Abyss, and I'm glad that they put that in this book, which is saying good. The Tarokka cards are also really cool handouts. At the back of the books, in one of the appendixes, they have all of the Tarokka cards that you will need. You can scan them out and print them, or you can actually buy them as well. I didn't buy the handout myself, but you can actually buy a physical deck of cards, which I thought was really nice because it adds that extra kind of tangible feeling towards the Curse of Strahd, which, we're in horror games, I think it's really important to have. So I really appreciate that. The overall setting and style of the book I have absolutely no problems with in terms of how it's laid out. It's all, it's Wizard's book, it's printed well, very little spelling mistakes, nicely drawn maps, a lot of sexy artwork. That is super nice, and you're not going to be disappointed by the quality of the book when you buy it. The one thing, probably my main complaint with the Curse of Strahd in general, is its real lack of any storyline which it gives to you. It is pretty loose. They basically give you a sandbox world. They give you all of these settings, which is a different kind of way than they did it previously in Out of the Abyss. Previously, they would give you the kind of storyline and the setting, the locations together, and so you could kind of read through, and you'd kind of read that together. In this, what they have done is they've basically just given you a list of all the locations in Ravenloft, and then a few ideas to weave your own plot together. I don't like that so much for new players, because I think if this is your first game, you're going to be really kind of stuck as to what the actual story is. What I would actually prefer for them to do is to have like a real kind of like a section, which is just the plot, and then just have out in a section of like, this could happen here, this could happen here, X could happen next. And just maybe like a flow chart of different events happening when, so it's just easy for you to figure out, rather than having to read through the 300 pages of the book as to find out what happens when. Because it being in this kind of sandbox setting which they've given you, it's a bit difficult to figure out what happens when, or what should happen when. Of course, for myself, I've gone completely off the rails and I've just used the setting itself for my own campaign and for my own storyline and plot, which is something which the book excels at. The settings are absolutely incredible in here, and the detail of the descriptions and the maps that come with them and the ideas behind them I really love. They've really managed to evoke the setting of Ravenloft, which is something that a lot of people were worried about. Would it just be, you know, not really scary, kind of 5th edition scary? But they managed to evoke that pretty well, I think. But I would like them to have just a section at the back for new DMs, honestly, and for people who just want to pick up this and play. Just have a section, flowcharts, things that could happen when. I think that'd be a really nice addition to the game, to the modules, and overall in modules that they're doing. Because they had that in Out of the Abyss. They had that. They had a section in the back which read to me out vague ideas as to when plots happen when, and it's super useful. It really is super useful because you know what it's like when you're a DM. You don't prep enough it really that you need to. You end up having to do things last minute. You need a quick catch up, and that's something like maybe just chapter by chapter they could have just a little bit clearer. I think in the future that would be super helpful for them to have, and super useful. The horror aspect of the game is really important for Ravenloft. It has such a distinct feel to the other settings, which is, again, you know, going back to Out of the Abyss. Out of the Abyss had its own unique feel. They really managed to evoke the feeling of the Underdark. Similarly, they have succeeded in evoking the feeling of Ravenloft, and I think perhaps the best chapter for this is chapter 6, in fact, which is all about the Dream Hags. And their pastries. It's called Old Bone Grinder, and it's a story, it's just a setting about these old hags who sell these pastries that parents get addicted to, and then they take the children from the parents in exchange for pastries, and they actually end up turning the children into the pastries and grinding them down, which I think is really, really cool and so twisted, you know, so weird, and I think that is absolutely what they've excelled at. For me, that is the best chapter in the book, and it is 4 pages long. It managed to evoke in me 3 sessions worth of inspiration for the idea of a campaign. And I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of the rest of the stuff isn't too evocative. There's several pages of stuff where it's just really a dungeon grind, and we all know the sort of thing that wizards do every now and again, you know, because it's aimed towards the newer players. They're always trying to get new audiences in. They have the dungeon crawl, and it's basically laid out very simply, you know, X monster here, X trap here, X monster here. Very little narrative kind of enticement, I suppose. And what I really loved about that chapter 6 of the Bone Grinder stuff is that it's just kind of evoked that kind of feeling of Ravenloft really well, in comparison to some of the kind of dungeon stuff that they bring in. The descriptions of Castle Ravenloft itself are great. I love how much effort they've put into the castle itself. It's got its own chapter, and it's absolutely huge chapter as well. It's not a small one. They are going hard into the castle because they know it's just like the real setting of it, and I like how they made the setting of the castle the kind of end game, which we all kind of know it needs to be. And whilst they could have been tempted to set the entire thing within Castle Ravenloft as, you know, Return to Castle Ravenloft was, and, you know, the original Castle Ravenloft. What they've really managed to do is to flesh out the whole world of Barovia, the whole plane of Barovia. So whilst they put so much effort into the castle, they've also got all these other amazing locations and chapters and ideas within them. And I think that's really what the book itself excels at, is inspiring you as a DM to run a game in Ravenloft. It's not the perfect book by any means. It doesn't give you all that you need to play necessarily, in terms of you can't just sit down and open up the book and then you'll be playing because you have no idea what's going on. It requires a lot of reading beforehand and a fair amount of prep work to understand a lot of the backstory and what's going on, and then to prep out your own sessions. because each one is different. One of the main strengths and the main weaknesses of the Tarokka cards is that the randomness element. So at the beginning, you're encouraged to hand out these Tarokka cards and to do the readings of fate like Madame Eva is, and it tells you where a bunch of different items are pertinent to the plot, and where a bunch of NPCs are pertinent to the plot, and where Strahd himself is. So that's really cool because each game that you play could be different. So, for instance, Strahd could end up being in a completely different location one time than the other, and it'd be different items, and it'd be in different locations the next time you played it. So it's great for repeats. However, if you're just picking up and playing, and then you just throw down the card, and it tells you this location, which is chapter 17, the perfect chapter, which you haven't actually read at this point, then you could be a little bit screwed because you need to have done the prep work in order to know what that is and to foreshadow enough of that for the storyline. But other than that, I think the Tarokka cards are a fun element. It's just worth knowing that you do need a fair amount of prep work going into getting the Curse of Strahd. One thing which myself, as well as several members of chat I've just been talking to, would like is some more options for players. So everyone loves new races and classes, and we've had none. Since the beginning of 5th edition. We are playing with the same stealth classes. Yes, they have added in some backgrounds. They've given us the Unearthed Arcana. They've even given us one in the back of the Curse of Strahd. There is one character background. There is one little tidbit there for players. And we could do with more. You know, maybe a vampire class, maybe some rules for their vampire stuff, some unique Ravenloft rules would be cool, I think, just for players, just so they can mess around with Ravenloft and get the feel of it, because everyone loves new player options and classes. That means that if you're buying the book, maybe you're not just buying it because you're the DM, maybe you also want to be able to use the character options within there. So I think it'd be a good idea for Wizards to include some more character stuff, because we're getting bored of the same old classes, and we'd like some new ones. So more character options, whether that's backgrounds, sure. If we do have backgrounds, can we have more than one, please? And can we have some more races and some classes? Like a soulless person from there would be cool. A haunted one is good in the back, but we'd like some more stuff. So more player options is another minor complaint, I guess. So all in all, I think that the Curse of Strahd is a very good book. I don't want to put a number on it, but if I did, I'd say around 16 out of 17. It's very good. It's a very good book, but it's not perfect. It's got its own problems, and I think it requires a lot of work on the DM's part to be able to kind of extract enough out of it. What it does do brilliantly is evoke the feeling of Ravenloft and to get you in the mood for playing a Ravenloft game. It's got so many great ideas in there, and if you took enough time to pour through it all and to read everything out there, then I would definitely think that you'd have a very good understanding of the world and a very good sense of motivation to play inside of Ravenloft, because it's such an evocative and incredibly gothic setting, and everyone loves a bit of horror. That being said, the layout of the book could be done better. I think they could give better plot summaries for the newer DMs, and even for me, but I'm just picking up the book and wanting to play it on an evening. Also, creatively, I think Wizards of the Coast need to push themselves. I keep saying this, and I will keep on saying it. Wizards, write some original material and print it, because I want it, and millions would buy it. Don't feel like you need to just do the old rehashes, because that's what it's starting to feel a bit like to us here. Post 5th edition launch, we've got a lot of new content coming out, but a lot of it is just reused stuff. We've all played Ravenloft before, we know a lot of people haven't, but I'd really like to see something new, something imaginative, and something a bit different, something weird, you know, throw something crazy our way. I believe in you, Wizards, so do it and push yourselves even further. I think it's a big step from Out of the Abyss. It's a huge step from the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, which is awful. I think I'm excited for the future of new modular material coming out from Wizards of the Coast. I pray to the Devil Strahd himself that they write some original stuff and we get some new unique content, because that's what I'm excited to play at this point. I really enjoyed the Curse of Strahd, and I think you will too. I think it's worth the money. And you can get it for free in our giveaway, so why not give it a go? If you do end up trying it out, let me know in the comment section below what you think of it. And if you've been enjoying our campaign on YouTube, then also let me know what you've been thinking of the campaign. We have been going a lot off book because, well, as I've explained to you, there is very little plot within the book itself. So going off story is is very encouraged, I think. So I hope you guys enjoy your own adventures in Ravenloft, because I know that Strahd von Zarovich is hungry, and he's invited us all to dinner. So until next time, guys, try not to roll too many nat ones, because I want to be here laughing.